I missed a shot.
During a special ESPN broadcast ahead of a yearly basketball tournament called the Rucker Classic, a couple of basketball legends are interviewed in a segment about a street ball icon named Uncle Drew. All the interviewed guests say nice things about Uncle Drew and how he was so good at basketball. One of them also talks about a time when Uncle Drew won a basketball game for his team using only his left hand while he was holding a sandwich in his right hand. In 1968, Uncle Drew and his team, the Harlem Buckets, dominated the Rucker tournament and cruised past every opponent on their way to the finals. However, things quickly went south when Drew hooked up with his teammate's girlfriend just before the finals. This caused the team to split, and they were a no-show for the finals. Uncle Drew also disappeared after that, but people in Harlem still regard him as the Rucker Classic's greatest player. With this year's tournament just a few days away, everyone keeps wondering if they'll see the birth of a new playground legend at Rucker Park.
Was there anyone out there better than Uncle Drew?
One of the talented players expected to play at the tournament is a young man named Casper, who plays for a team called Harlem Money. During a training session, their coach Dax immediately stops the game and tells Casper to stop passing the ball when he can shoot. He adds that Casper is the best player in Harlem, and he's the one who has to take all the shots. Casper's teammates don't really have a problem with this, and Dax tells them to continue training. As Dax returns to his seat, a reporter for a popular magazine, Sal, enters the court to interview him. After introducing himself, Sal asks how someone like Dax, who works at Foot Locker, managed to get a top talent like Casper to join his team. Dax says great players need great coaches, and that Casper knows he's the best coach for him. As Sal is about to ask another question, a rival coach named Mookie enters the court with his boys. Dax doesn't look happy to see Mookie, and he asks what his longtime rival is doing there.
Are you still holding a grudge because I blocked your shot?
Mookie then jokes that Dax is still holding a grudge against him for something that happened many years ago. Dax says he doesn't know what Mookie is talking about, but the rival coach finds this funny. He then talks about how he blocked Dax's three-point attempt many years ago when they were still young. That particular move cost Dax's team dearly, and Mookie eventually won the game for his own team. Dax says he doesn't care about it anymore, but Mookie shows him a tattoo he got to celebrate the win. He also shows Dax his other tattoos while boasting that he has won 7 of the last 9 Rucker championships. Dax doesn't get where their conversation is going, and Mookie says his winning mentality might make it easier for top talents like Casper to consider playing for him. Mookie leaves after this, and Dax looks worried that he might lose his best player. He then calls Casper aside and asks if they're good.
We good, right?
No doubt.
Casper says they are, and Dax asks if he needs anything. Casper says he wouldn't mind getting a new pair of Jordans, and Dax mentions that they are really expensive. As he notices that Casper looks disappointed, he says he already sold the last pair, and that when the new stock arrives, he'll get one for his star player. Casper then looks happy and thanks Dax for this. That night, while Dax is sleeping, he dreams about his childhood and how he grew up as an orphan. He was also a good basketball player with a lot of potential, but things suddenly went downhill for him after Mookie blocked his shot and made everyone mock him. When Dax wakes up the next morning, he sees his girlfriend, Jess, inside the room. Jess then starts fantasizing about the things she'll buy if Dax wins the $100,000 prize for the winner of the Rucker Championship. Jess doesn't seem to care about what Dax might want to do with the money, but she says they'll spend the cash prize together.
I'm motivated, baby.
Later that day, while Dax is at work, he sees Casper and some of his friends walk into the store. As he tries to hide from them, he bumps into Jess, who has just finished shopping at a nearby store. She also suggests going out for lunch, but Dax tells her to give him a minute because he wants to handle something. After this, Dax goes to meet Casper and his friends. Casper then complains that he just saw the shoes Dax said were out of stock. Dax says the shoes just arrived this morning, and Casper asks Dax if he and his boys can take one pair each. Dax knows he cannot afford to buy shoes for all of them, and Casper says he can always find someone else to pay for them. Dax doesn't want this, so he reluctantly agrees to buy the shoes for the boys. After they take the shoes away, Dax tries to pay with his card, but it gets declined because he's actually bankrupt. As one of his colleagues threatens to call the police, Dax begs Jess to help him pay for the shoes. Jess offers to do it if she gets 50% of the prize money.
Let me show you what I found on Zillow.
And Dax agrees because he doesn't really have a choice. The next day, Dax arrives at the court to show his players their new jerseys. Unfortunately, Mookie is already there, and he has convinced Casper and the other players to join his team. Dax cannot believe this, and he laments that he spent his entire life savings to get into the tournament. As Dax also complains about the new shoes he just bought for the players, Mookie thanks him and jokes that he was never going to buy them. Dax refuses to accept this, and he angrily tries to snatch the shoes off Casper and the other boys. Later that day, ESPN shows a clip of Dax trying to take off Casper's shoes. Dax looks humiliated when he sees this, and Jess also decides to break up with him because she doesn't think he can win the tournament without Casper. She also kicks him out of her apartment, but he begs her to let him stay because he has nowhere else to go. Jess doesn't care about this,
You can't just kick me out our house.
and she still sends him out. Dax looks disappointed, and he heads to a barbershop to get a haircut. There, he laments that he spent everything he had on the tournament, and he can't get his money back. One of the barbers, Angelo, then tells Dax that it's time for him to find Uncle Drew. As Angelo talks about the amazing things Uncle Drew did, Dax doesn't believe him. The other customers also believe it's just rumors, and they talk about the things they've heard. Dax says there's no point in finding Drew because he's probably now an old man who can't play basketball anymore. As he says he'll have to assemble another team, he leaves the barbershop and starts going to different basketball courts to see if anyone wants to play for him. Unfortunately, no one accepts Dax's offer, and he feels dejected. One day, while he's at another basketball court in the area to find players for his team, an old man constantly complains about the way some young boys are playing. One of the boys then calls out the old man for not being able to back up all his talk about being good.
And who's to say I can't?
Interestingly, the old man happens to be Uncle Drew, and he says he can back it up. The young boy then challenges him to a one-on-one contest to see who can score 3 points first. Uncle Drew gladly accepts, and Dax, who doesn't know the old man, looks amazed. During the game, Uncle Drew easily allows the young boy to score 2 points before he starts playing well. Everyone looks impressed, and as they cheer for Uncle Drew while calling his name, Dax looks shocked. After Uncle Drew wins the game, Dax quickly runs to meet him. He then introduces himself and says that he thinks Uncle Drew can help teach the young boys on his team how to play better. Uncle Drew doesn't seem interested in this, but as Dax says it's for the Rucker Championship, he looks impressed. He then agrees to play only if it's with his former teammates.
It's gotta be my team. My boys.
Dax says he can't allow that, but Drew insists that if he doesn't get what he wants, they'll have no deal. Since Dax is desperate to get a team, he agrees to let Drew and his former teammates play for him. Drew looks happy about this, and he tells Dax that they have to go around in his van to pick up his old friends. Dax agrees to do this, and Drew says their first stop is in DC to pick up one of his old teammates, called Preacher. Dax wonders why they have to go that far, and Drew says that Preacher is the best power forward he has ever played with. As they enter the van, Drew gives Dax some basic rules that he has to follow while he's inside. Dax seems confused about some of the rules, but he doesn't really complain. After a long trip, they arrive in DC and stop just outside a church. Dax doesn't understand this, but it turns out that Preacher is now an actual preacher. When they enter the church, they see Preacher giving a sermon as he prepares to baptize a baby.
Kevin Durant started a new beginning in Golden State.
As he moves the baby around like a basketball, Dax complains about this. He says he's not comfortable with how Preacher is handling the baby, and that the baby's parents should take their baby back. The baby's parents realize that Dax has a point, and they decide to take their baby back. However, Preacher's wife, Betty Lou, laments that she spent almost an hour filling up the pool for the baptism. As she says that someone has to get into the pool, the church members members tell Preacher to baptize Dax instead. Drew supports this and tells Dax to take one for the team. Dax cannot believe this, but he's eventually dragged to the front of the church. After the ceremony, Drew tells Preacher about the plan to get the squad back together, and he looks excited. However, he says he'll have to ask his wife about it first. As Betty hears what they're planning to do, she tells Preacher not to go because doing God's work is the only thing that should matter to him.
His work is never done.
Preacher tries to fight against this, but Betty just tells him not to go. Shortly after, while Drew is in the van with Dax, he says they have to wait because he knows Preacher will eventually come with them. Dax doesn't sound sure about this, but Preacher suddenly shows up with his bag and tells Drew to drive away before Betty catches them. Almost immediately, Betty follows the van, and as Drew is forced to stop at a red light, she brings out a baseball bat from her car. Before she can hit the van, Drew drives away quickly, and Betty looks pissed. After a while, Drew stops at a gas station, and as Dax sees Preacher playing with the basketball, he asks why their squad broke up in the first place. Preacher says he'd have to ask Drew about that, and he does just this. Drew says there's nothing a few wins can't fix, but Preacher doesn't think this will be enough to make up for what Drew did to another teammate named Big Fella. Drew says it will, but Preacher still has doubts about it. As Preacher then heads to the restroom, Dax looks impressed when he sees Drew playing with the ball. He then says he can tell that Drew really loves basketball. Drew says he does, and he asks if Dax also loves it or if he used to play.
What's there not to love?
Dax looks sad as he says he doesn't really play, but Drew says he doesn't believe that. Dax insists that he's just a coach, but Drew still believes he's lying. As they prepare to leave, Dax watches a show where Mookie is being interviewed. Mookie says he's ready for this year's Rucker Championship and that he has a history of winning. He adds that he can't wait to take down Dax's team. Dax looks annoyed by this, but he quickly forgets about it. Next up, Dax, Drew, and Preacher go to a nursing home where they ask for another old teammate named Lights. The nurse at the front desk tells them to check a nearby amusement arcade. When they get there, they see Lights repeatedly failing to throw a ball into the net, while a lady named Maya lies that he's doing well. Dax looks shocked because he can't believe Drew really wants a partially blind man to join their team.
Girl, you should have seen me back in the day.
Lights eventually sees his old teammates and looks excited. Maya also introduces herself as the granddaughter of another teammate named Boots. Drew then asks how Boots is doing, and Lights says he's not great. Shortly after, they return to the nursing home and see Boots in a wheelchair staring out the window. Dax looks shocked by this, but Drew just throws a ball at Boots to catch. As Boots catches the ball, Maya looks surprised and sees her grandfather smiling for the first time in years. Preacher then asks if Maya is fine, and she says it's been years since Boots smiled, and even longer since he tried to stand. Dax cannot believe this, but Drew says they need to pack Boots' things. Maya then mentions that Boots isn't allowed to go anywhere because the doctors have him on a full psychiatric lockdown. Drew says they'll have to break him out, but Maya mentions that it's illegal.
Doctors have him on a full psychiatric lockdown.
Dax also supports her, but Drew calls him the coach and tells him to work something out. This makes Dax happy, but after he comes up with a plan, Boots just wheels himself out to meet them in the van. As they begin their journey to recruit Big Fella, Dax drives the van and asks if Maya really wants to follow them. Maya says she just wants to see her grandfather happy, and Dax seems fine with this. He then asks why her grandfather's name is Boots, and she says it's because he wore the same worn-out pair of shoes every time he stepped on the court. She adds that he refused to play in anything else, and he used to joke that the shoes were his work boots. Dax finds this funny, and Maya says she really admires what he's doing for the old men. She says that everyone needs something to look forward to, even if it's a pipe dream. Dax doesn't think it's a pipe dream, and Maya asks if he really thinks the old men can win. Dax doesn't seem sure about this, and Maya says she thinks he's a noble man because he's blowing away his money to make the men happy.
Yeah, but you don't actually think they could win, do you?
The next day, they stop at a dojo that Big Fella now runs. Drew says he'll go inside alone to speak to Big Fella, and the others agree to wait in the van. As Drew enters the dojo, he tries to tell a joke, but Big Fella just hits him. Dax and Preacher see this, and they quickly run into the store to help Drew. After this, Drew tells Big Fella that he's bringing the squad back together. He also suggests playing a one-on-one game to decide if Big Fella will join them again, but Preacher scolds him for always trying to play his way out of his problems. Dax then tells Big Fella that he knows Drew can be very annoying. He also mentions that Big Fella has to think about his other teammates who are ready to play with him. Big Fella likes this, and he agrees to come with them. As Dax returns to the car, he sees Lights sitting in the driver's seat, and he looks confused. Lights jokes that he's their getaway driver, but Dax still doesn't get this. Almost immediately, Drew and Preacher see Betty driving toward them, and they quickly enter the van so that she won't stop them.
Oh,
Betty Lou's coming.
With this, Lights actually gets to drive the van, and Betty is unable to catch them. After a while, they stop at a gas station, and as Dax tries to pay with his card, it gets declined. As he wonders what he'll do next, he sees the players of a young female basketball team. He then bets with their coach that his team of old men can defeat the girls. The coach finds this funny, but he accepts the challenge. Following this, Dax tells Drew and the others to head out for a practice game against the girls because they need to be ready for the Rucker Championship, which begins tomorrow. The men reluctantly agree to play, and as the girls take a huge lead, Dax urges them to play better because he made a bet with the other coach to win gas money for the van. Unfortunately, the men still lose the game, but they manage to cover the bet and the gas money.
Good job, guys!
Drew then tells Dax that he should have just asked them for the money. Shortly after, they arrive in Harlem and head straight to Rucker Park. As they reminisce about old times, Drew says he brought something for everyone. Just then, he gives Lights a pair of glasses that will improve his sight. He also returns a necklace that Preacher once gave to him for strength, and he says that his friend now needs it. After this, he shows Boots his old shoes, which he forgot in the van in 1968. Boots looks happy to see them, and after he puts them on, he gets out of his wheelchair and plays with the ball. They all look shocked by this, and Maya also seems happy to see her grandfather walking for the first time in years. Drew then says he saved the best for last, and he brings out the first trophy he and Big Fella won as kids. Big Fella doesn't appreciate this, and he destroys the small trophy after stepping on it. He then says that the trophy is not an apology, and he leaves the court.
this ain't no apology. Don't even try it.
The next morning, Dax heads to Jess's house to try to get her back, but she still doesn't care about him. She also tells him that she has a new boyfriend who happens to be Mookie. Dax cannot believe this, and as Mookie insults him, he leaves the building. The next day, the Rucker Championship begins, and Mookie's team easily beats their first opponents, with Casper being their best player. Later that day, Dax also gets his team ready for their first game. When the game starts, Big Fella stops Drew from playing and asks for an apology. Drew says he doesn't want to talk about Big Fella's girlfriend, and they continue arguing right there on the court. Dax then calls a timeout and tells them to put their differences aside for the sake of the team. Big Fella agrees to do this, and as the game continues, Dax's team scores many points to take a big lead. As the game nearly ends, Big Fella asks why Drew can't admit that he messed up. Drew says they barely even knew the girl they're arguing about, and that Big Fella probably doesn't remember her name. This gets Big Fella pissed, and he blocks Drew's shot and knocks him to the ground. He then mentions that he married the girl, and Drew looks shocked. The next day, Big Fella goes to his wife's grave, and Drew meets him there. He says he didn't know Big Fella liked her so much.
I've been sorry my whole damn life.
And even married her. Big Fella says he loved her and still can't believe what Drew did before the finals in 1968. Drew then apologizes and says that he also loved her. Big Fella forgives him for what happened, and he tells Drew to start passing him the ball because he can now shoot better than he used to. The next day, as Dax's team prepares for the second game, Angelo sees Drew and looks excited to meet him. He talks about old times and asks what Drew will do with the prize money when he wins. wins. Drew looks confused, but as Angelo says there's a prize money of $100,000, he realizes that Dax didn't say anything about it. Almost immediately, he confronts Dax and says he should have known that Dax doesn't love basketball. He adds that Dax only uses basketball the way he has used everything in his life. As he walks away, Dax stops him and says that no one loves the game more than him. He says the only problem he had was that the game didn't love him back. Drew asks what happened, and Dax says he missed a shot that made everyone mock him and walk out on him. Drew feels sorry for him and says that's the first real thing Dax has said.
Everybody walked out on me.
He then implies that he has no problem with Dax and he'll continue playing with the others. After the team wins the next game, they head to a club to celebrate. While the old men are having fun, Dax sits with Maya to talk. He jokingly asks how much Maya's parents are paying her to watch her grandfather, but Maya doesn't understand why she has to be paid to spend time with her family. Dax says he doesn't know what it's like because he never had a family, but Maya points to the old men and asks what he would call them. Dax then thinks about this and realizes that they're the only family he has ever had. Interestingly, Dax and Maya now seem to be attracted to each other, but they don't say anything about it. The next day, Dax sees Mookie wearing one of the clothes that he left at Jess's house. Mookie doesn't understand why Dax is so pissed about it, and he says he's just playing mind games so he can think like his opponent. During the next game, Dax's team takes a huge lead, but Big Fella suddenly collapses on the court. He's taken to the hospital immediately, and his teammates look worried. Shortly after, Betty arrives, and Preacher looks happy to see her. As he says he'll stop playing if Betty wants, she mentions that she wants him to continue. She adds that if they want someone to replace Big Fella, she's ready to play. Preacher and the others look happy about this,
You're saying what I think you're saying.
and they leave the hospital together. On the day of the finals, Dax changes the name on his team's jersey to Harlem Buckets. Shortly after, he heads to the court with Maya and his players for the finals against Mookie's team. Mookie then brags that his team is going to win the game. He also makes fun of Dax and says he'll steal Dax's heart just as he stole Jess and Casper. When the game begins, Casper insults the old men and jokes that they're not at his level. Unfortunately, Dax's team starts the game badly, and Casper scores many points to give Mookie's team a huge lead. Maya and Dax look disappointed, but they continue encouraging their team to play better. Elsewhere, Big Fella wakes up at the hospital and heads out of his room to find a TV so he can watch the game. Back at Rucker Park, the Harlem Buckets slowly find their way back into the game and close the gap. After a while, Lights and Casper get injured after bumping into each other, and they're unable to continue. As Dax laments that they don't have another player, Drew encourages him to play. Dax doesn't think he's ready to play again, but Drew says this is his chance to redeem himself.
Don't you dare be like that, young blood.
Interestingly, Mookie looks ready to replace Casper, and when Dax sees this, he agrees to play as long as he gets to guard his longtime rival. Just before the game continues, Jess shows up to insult Dax and encourage Mookie. Maya doesn't like this, and she immediately steps up to defend Dax. Jess looks shocked by this, but she's eventually dragged off the court before she starts a fight. After this, the game continues, and Dax is unable to stop Mookie from scoring points for his team. Drew tells Dax not to let that happen again, and he says he won't. With just a few minutes left and the Harlem Buckets still down by 2, Dax steals the ball from Mookie and gets a chance to score a game-winning 3. However, he gets nervous and calls a timeout. Dax then tells his teammates that he can't shoot the ball because he's scared that he'll miss. He also suggests letting Drew take the shot since he's the best shooter on the team.
Seriously, what's wrong with that play?
His teammates don't like his idea, and Drew says he's sure Dax will make the shot. Maya and the others also cheer him on, saying that they believe in him. Following this, the game resumes with less than 10 seconds on the clock. Mookie then tries to block Dax's shot, but he gets dribbled. With no one else guarding Dax, he makes the shot and wins the game for his team. After celebrating with his teammates, Dax shakes Mookie and says he played a good game. However, Mookie thinks he's just playing mind games, and and he says he'll see Dax next year. Dax looks confused, but he just heads over to meet Maya. As they confess their feelings for each other, Drew and the others look happy for them. After this, Drew congratulates Dax and hands him the game ball. The next day, the team heads to the hospital to see Big Fella, who now looks much better.
Big Fella, man, I'm really happy that you're okay, man.
While in Big Fella's room, they all see Dax being hailed as a hero on ESPN, and they look happy for him. After using his life savings to enter the Rucker Classic, Dax loses his team to a longtime rival who once humiliated him on a basketball court. As he wonders what to do next, he meets Uncle Drew, who agrees to play for him only if he recruits a team of old men. Despite initially being against this idea, Dax eventually agrees and gets the old men ready for the tournament. Unfortunately, one of his players gets injured during the final game, and Dax has no choice but to overcome his self-doubt, redeem his pride, and lead his team to victory.